There it is, and it's counting down. Here we are. Welcome again to the Standout Be Seen podcast, where we empower entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants to break through the noise, take the guesswork out of identifying and targeting your ideal clients, and connect with more qualified leads.
Hi, I'm Ansa Goodbar, your guide to developing a fearless branding voice and strategic marketing plan. Together, Monty and I will unpack proven strategies, share insider insights, and dive deep into what it takes to truly stand out and be seen in today's crowded marketplace.
And I'm Monty Armstrong. So whether you're here to elevate your personal brand, grow your business, or simply find the motivation to take that next step, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to be talking about the common pitfalls entrepreneurs face while defining their target audience.
Yes, we are. That's one of the things that my clients seem to struggle with the most. And I think that there are several reasons why this is such a common problem. So we thought that we would talk about it today.
What's interesting about that is that a lot of people don't even realize it's a problem, or that they even realize that it's a thing.
Right. That's true.
Where I started.
Well, I think everybody does. I think everybody starts there. One of the things that I see people who come to me believe that everybody and anybody is their target audience or their ideal client, that everybody can use the thing that they sell. And it makes it very confusing for people out there trying to connect with you when you're talking to the whole sea of people that are available to you.
That's interesting. I was just talking to a good friend of ours, Stephen Lai, this morning, and we were discussing an audience. And we were able to define out, it's like, yes, they're all in the same audience, but there's these dividers, and you're going to speak to this audience differently depending on where they are in the journey.
Right.
And the journey that we defined was there's people who download software and never use it and drop off the end. There's people that download the software, use it a little bit and don't like it. And then there's the people that don't even know the software exists. And so when you are trying to talk to an audience about said software, you're going to need a different message to resonate with each one of those.
That's an excellent example. You've got to know where your people are in order to craft a message that's going to connect with them. And that's one of the...
Where they are in their journey, not necessarily where they are geographically on the
right. Good clarifier.
Or because that question comes up, it's like, well, where is your audience? Are they on Facebook? Are they on TikTok? So there's that kind of where they are. But there's also what we're talking about is a little more ambiguous. It's in this journey. Where are they in their thought process? Where are they in their journey? Yeah.
And I think one of the assumptions that new entrepreneurs make is that everybody's in the same place at the same time. They don't break them out into those different buckets to be able to communicate with where they are in their buyer's journey.
And sometimes it's just a mistake of, I can see how anyone can use this, how this could benefit this person and this person and this person. And then it's taken for granted. Since I understand it and I connect the dots so easily, well, then everybody will be able to connect the dots easily. So I just need to tell them about the thing, and then they can connect the dots to their circumstance. And there are some people that do that. And that's where old school marketing came in, and you blanketed everything and put it on billboards and flyers and radio ads and just tried to find those few people. But that now is really, tedious if nothing else, but it's also costly in time and money to try and do that tactic. So it's a lot better to identify, a specific demographic, a specific point in the journey, a specific thought process that I can talk to. And then I don't have to worry about blanketing everywhere. I can really focus in on what's important.
Exactly. And I think, as we're talking about that particular segment or group of people who may be all very similar, that it really helps to put a name and a face to each of those people because they are a subset of what maybe your grander target audience is. Each of those ideal clients inside of that target audience need to be somebody specific that you're talking to. And I think that can help bring clarity when you're creating your branding voice to be able to be talking to that one person. You know, Stephen is this guy, Betty is this person, Tommy is this person, yet they all fit inside of that ideal target audience that you're working with. And I think when we're not thinking of multiple people, when we're creating our messaging, um, our our um, our content comes out much more clear for people to resonate with. To say, "Oh yeah, that's me. I buy digital courses all the time and then I never watch them. That's me. Oh, why don't I ever watch them?" Right? They're going to be able to pick up on that specific thing that you're talking about to help them get a better result. Digital courses are great, but if you don't actually go through them, you don't ever see the result that the digital course is promising you, just as an example. And so if I, Sally, want to get a better result from digital courses that I buy, then I need to take the time to sit and watch that digital course. But what's holding me back? Why aren't I doing it? And that's when you look at who are those people in each of those segments of your ideal audience. What is it that's holding Sally back from watching that video, that that video course? Why not? Is she too busy? Is she a single mom? Does she have two kids at home? Is she going to college and she's juggling a job and kids and college and she's trying to get ahead and build a business? What's going on in her life? Because if you understand all of those things, that can really help you understand the people that make up your target audience.
So tying that back, the pitfall that people are falling into here is that saying, well, everybody can connect the dots.
Right.
Because actually there's several pitfalls there, but let's focus on that one, that everybody can just connect the dots. And what I see in advertising a lot of times, because humans love threes and it's used a lot, so things are presented in threes. And
Mm,
when something is presented as a, well, here's one feature benefit, here's another feature benefit, here's another feature benefit, and they're kind of talking about different areas, they're once again blanketing. Well, we hope to appeal to this type of person with this feature benefit, and we're trying to appeal to this type of person with this feature benefit. And in today's world, we know with the scrolling and attention spans and demand for attention, that if that first one isn't the one that resonates, it's the third one, they may not get
hmm
to the third one.
right.
If it's the first one and they are resonating, they go to the next one and they're like, oh, but that's not me. And that's
Right.
not me. And so therefore it's not a powerful connection. You started the connection and then there's like, oh, well, that's not me. That's not me.
Right. And so they self-select out of whatever it is that you're offering. And so being able to have that clear, concise message, like you said, is key. And we have such a short amount of time to be able to grab somebody's attention. It's important for us as marketers to be able to grab that attention and hold that attention and get them from step A to step B to step C. Otherwise, we're wasting our time and our energy.
Yep. To get them to connect the dots.
Right. I love that because there's two ways of connecting the dots when you think about it. And I don't know if you were a dot to dot guy, but I loved doing dot to dot puzzles when I was a kid. And, there were some that had big numbers and it was really easy to see. There were some, as you became more practiced and more skilled, that they would start leaving out numbers in certain areas. And so you might get every third number, and you would have to figure out how to connect the right dots to get the right picture at the end. And then there were some that just had dots, and you had to really study what are those dots supposed to make before you started trying to connect them. And so, as marketers, we want to be able to have numbers on our dots to lead the way. It's just like leaving breadcrumbs in the story of Hansel and Gretel, right? We want to have a path for our people to follow to make it really easy for them to connect with us.
Yep. When you said that, I was on that same boat of you have dots and then you have numbered dots. And
Right.
and in what you were describing, you as you progress and become more advanced, then you start taking on harder and harder stuff. In this world, it seems like you're starting at the hard end because you just
Right.
got a bunch of dots. Because the other aspect of the complexity was how many dots there were.
Exactly.
And where they were placed, because if you have 100 dots in a circle, you can draw a
Hmm.
circle pretty easy, you know.
Right. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
with numbering the dots, that's where you can target your audience and number the dots for them. If you don't have it defined, all you can do is present the dots and hope that they can connect them. But you narrow that down, and so therefore you can
Right.
actually number them for them. Say, hey, I understand you're feeling these things, so therefore if you do these dots like this,
Hmm.
this is what you'll end up with.
Exactly. Exactly.
And we see advertisements that come out that say you can do this and you can do this and you can do this, and then you don't have a clear, concise. It takes the, oh well, that means that I could
Hmm.
do these things, these other things. But if you
Right.
can't connect that, then all it means is that I watched this thing and now I'm scrolling on.
Right. Exactly. That is so true. And, I think looking at your point of, things being presented in threes, if you're number three on that list, like you said, you might not get there. But that's when we get into that conversation of niching down. So we are presenting the right threes for that particular niche of people that you're trying to serve. And so often I get pushback when I tell people you need to narrow the group of people that you're talking to. It's too wide, it's too disconnected. They're not getting the picture, they're not connecting the dots. But people really have a fear that if they niche down, they're losing opportunities. What would you just say to somebody that said that to you?
Well, I like the team analogy where everyone's on the same team. They all want the
Mhm.
same goal. They're all trying to do the same things. But the captain knows that this particular person values one thing more than another. And so when he approaches that team member, he wants to speak to them in a certain way so that they resonate and they can work better and be a better team. But when he goes over to this other team member, he knows that they value a direct approach. This person needs all the details and really, a little bit of holding my hand. This person here is just tell me how it is and let's go. So they're on the same team. We're going for the
Right.
same goal. We're all working together. But when I talk to this guy, if I present it this way, it's so much more efficient, so much more effective. I could talk to all of my team members in the exact same way. And there are circumstances where you do that. But then
Hmm.
when you really want to resonate, so sometimes it's not even needing to niche down. It's like in my own niche, I'm niche down. I talk to people who are afraid of spiders and water.
Mm.
That's who I talk to.
Hmm.
But in my group, there's some people who are so afraid of water that they'll squish a spider. But there's other people that will jump in a lake or in a rapid rushing river to get away from the spider. So again, they're all in the same boat. I hate spiders, I hate water. But how you
Hmm.
speak to them is going to be a little bit
Hmm.
different. And so it's a point of what's my message, and who is receiving it.
Right.
And try to wrap back around the pitfall. The pitfall is
Mhm.
I want to speak to everybody in the same voice.
Right.
I like to think also, like in college, didn't you have a favorite professor that you just they say stuff and it just clicks. I understand it.
Mhm.
And then you go to
Mhm.
this other class and you're like, they're talking gibberish. I have no idea what's going on here.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that that's a great analogy. You just took me back to my psych course, my sophomore year of college, and it was like every one of us in the class had the deer in the headlights look. It's like, what in the world is she saying? That it doesn't equate to anything that we read in the textbook. And, we wanted her to explain some of that because it was so confusing. And we would just leave the class saying, man, I don't get it. I don't get how you tie these concepts together and come up with an application for this thing, this idea, this concept. And that's exactly what we're trying to do as marketers is to be able to overcome that challenge. And again, simplify those complex ideas to connect the dots to make it easy for people to say yes to us when they are reading our messages and responding to our calls to action.
So that kind of wraps up the connecting the dots, assuming that everybody can just connect the dots. That's one of the pitfalls and obstacles. Assuming that
Mhm.
everyone will just connect the dots, and I don't have to explain it in any great detail.
Right. Another pitfall that I see is people really confusing demographics and psychographics. They think that if they've defined their audience as being, you know, middle aged, married, soon to be empty nester, business owners who make, six figures a year, um, that's all they need to know about their people, and they need to know so much more to really, and again it goes back to what we were talking, it still fits in that bucket of helping them connect the dots, meeting them where they are, understanding who they are. And I think one of the things in this kind of area is looking at buying motivations. You can have lots of people that fit that demographic, but their buying motivation might be different. And how we talk to someone based on their buying motivation can be very different, um, and should be very different. Um, I know that most people, when they're looking at buying motivations, it's like, I need to save people money. They want the best bargain out there. And so they think that they need to underbid everybody who's buying for their business and come in at the absolute lowest value proposition. Or I'm trying to do this luxury brand and my client wants to keep up with the Joneses. They want to have that status, they want to have that big label brand name. How you talk to each of those two people is different. I was having a conversation with a client yesterday, and they're trying to create some work life balance going on, and they're trying to figure out some of these things in their business. And for one, it's like, I want more money. I want to make more money looking ahead towards retirement, looking at building that nest egg. Their partner, who happens to be their spouse, wants more quality time. Money doesn't mean anything to them. Building in that family quality time is what's really important. And even in their own business, that's causing some strife because their wants and needs and desires are very different, even though at the end of the day, their goal of having a successful business is what they really want. They both want that nest egg to be able to retire and walk away, 20 years down the road. But right now in this moment, their goals are very different. And I think we need to look at our ideal clients that way, our target audience that way, and how does what we offer fit into what they're really looking to achieve in in their motivation to work with you or to buy your product or service.
And that actually ties back into the connecting the dots because it's the which means.
Mhm.
This is the way it is, which means,
Mhm.
and that's the part that is different for different people, the buying motivation part, the which means part. So in
Right.
your circumstance, it's, hey, we need to increase our income. He says, so that we can have this big nest egg. And she says, so
Mhm.
that we have freedom to have quality time. So, like you
Right.
said, they had the same goal, but the
Mhm.
motivation, the which means part, what was really important, came from different angles.
Mhm. And I think it's just really important when we're defining our target audience, looking at those psychometrics to be able to be more clear. And I'm going to kind of jump over on the other side of the fence, but to our offer, being clear on our offer and how it fits into what our person needs, but being able to communicate what that offer is versus where they are at in their buyer's journey, what's motivating them to make that purchase, because it's our content that then becomes the bridge between those 2 points. And if we're not clear on who they are, what their motivation is, then we're going to have a hard time connecting the dots for them or building the bridge, um, to be able to clearly define what that means to them to buy your product or service and how it solves a problem for them.
Yeah, yeah, and that's part of the journey because that buying
Hmm.
motivation could be different for the same person depending on where they are in their journey. So if
Right.
they've already tried several solutions and not found the result that they want, their mentality about the whole situation is going to be much different than the person who is on the first leg saying, hey, there's the first thing I found, I'm going to try it out.
Right.
Which comes
I
back to my
totally agree.
example earlier talking about these software people that have
Hmm.
downloaded the free trial,
Hmm.
and there's the one group that used it some
Hmm.
and then never purchased it. Then there's the group that downloaded it and just never used it.
Right.
And so then you can identify, now I want to address these people, I want to follow up. It's that lost cart
Hmm.
situation. I'm going to send
Hmm.
out an email to all these people. If you send the same email out to all of those people, your results will not be as good as if you send out 2 emails to the 2 different groups targeting
Right.
those journeys. Hey, we saw
Hmm.
that you did this and got to this point. We'd really like to know what stopped you from here. Why didn't you continue on further?
Hmm.
The other people is like, hey, we saw that you got the thing and you didn't have time to try it. Um, then there you can say, you want to do it again, something else.
Right.
But at that point right there, it's we need to go this path rather than this other
Hmm.
path, so
Hmm.
that way we can resonate with these people rather
Hmm.
than just give them the information and wait for them to connect the dots.
Exactly. And I think that that's just a really timely example because, as you know, very recently I was looking for a software solution for a problem that I was having. And I went back to revisit some other software that I had used at earlier points in my career. And I don't know, I bet there were 7 or 8 that I went back and I revisited and I re-signed up for a trial to go in and test some things to see if it would do a specific thing that I was looking for. And, it was interesting that after the 7-day trial, for 90% of the companies, I never heard another word from them, which is fine. But one would have thought that I would have received, like you said, 1 or 2 of those emails. We're so glad that you tried out, or we see that you didn't have a chance to look at it. Was there something that we could have done or offered that you didn't see? But there was one company that was all over it. They had a whole sequence set up, and it spoke to me all along the way. Oh, if you're trying to do ABC, this is what we can do. Here's how you do it. Oh, you want to do DEF? Tune in tomorrow. We're going to show you how to do that. So for every day of the free trial, I had someone laying breadcrumbs saying, "Hey, here you go, here you go, here you go." You know, I was already pretty savvy in what the different programs did, and I was very specific on what I wanted to get from the application I was looking at. But I still continued to look at those emails. It was like maybe there was something I overlooked. Maybe they could do it easier than the way I figured out to do it on my own. But it was so helpful. And it really made me think, I want to do business with them. This is great. They're offering me great customer service, which is very important to me if I'm going to use a product. I don't want to wait 9 days for an answer. I want an answer like right now. And they demonstrated that while also educating me, and it was so beautiful. So as you're offering whatever product or service you're offering, make sure that you've got that messaging that goes with it. Why did they abandon the cart? What could I do to get them to complete the transaction? How can I help them along the way? What's that missing link? How can we bind those two sides of the coin together?
Yes, indeed. That's going a little further in on the whole concept there, but yeah, the what we were discussing was, hey, if we're going to approach these people about an abandoned cart, we want to section them out and talk to them differently because they're in different circumstances. And I think that what you're going into is taking it proactive, another step of, I'm not waiting for the abandoned cart thing. I'm going
Hmm.
to start finding out who these people are. So and it seems like, well, duh, but they went through their features. Hey, are you trying
They
to do
did.
this? Hey, are you trying to do this? Hey, are you trying to do this? And therefore, they're finding out where the people are in the journey. They're finding out what the motivational factors are, and they're finding out what the obstacles are.
Hmm.
And on one hand, someone might say, well, they're doing that so that they can solve those things. And yes, they are. But how do you
Hmm.
solve them? You need to speak to the people and have them respond. So we need to find
Exactly.
out some information about them so that when we speak to them, they say, that's me.
Hmm. Hmm. And they did. They had a question in each of the emails that they sent out, and I responded to them. And then they came back and answered that question with a follow up, which again solidified that by the time I got to the end of the trial, yes, this is the right company that I want to work with. This is the right software solution for the problem that I'm having to get the result that I'm looking for. And I think that's really important, from a business growth standpoint, but as well as, what we're talking about today and avoiding those mistakes that create those disconnects.
Well, that's a good example of someone saying, hey, let's number the dots for you.
Hmm.
They didn't
It
assume that you
is.
were going to have that, even though you are tech savvy and you would have gotten through that.
Hmm.
Um, but it resonated with you. And there's that point of,
Hmm.
hey, I'm starting this thing out. I'm in this journey. And
Right.
you got the information and the resources saying, oh, you're in the journey here, or you're in here, or you're in here. And you were able to pick and choose
Hmm.
rather than having a big lump thing that just says, here's all the great stuff, all of it.
Hmm. Right, right. And there was even one point where it was like, can you do XYZ? And they said, no, as a user, you cannot. However, if that's something that's important to you, send us a request. We'll do it for you. We'll download the file and send it to you. I was like, all right, I would love to be able to do it myself, but if I can't, I can still get the data that I need another way. Okay. So that still works. So it gives you, as a business owner, an opportunity to look at what the need is. And if they can't do it, come up with another solution to say, well, you can't do this yourself, but we can do it for you. We can get it to you within 6 hours. Okay. That just means I need to plan for that, right? I can still get what I want, maybe not immediately, but if I plan for it, I'll still get it in time for whatever purpose it is that I need that thing for. And so I think that's really helpful too.
So that's the first pitfall was assuming that everybody can just connect the dots.
Right.
And the next pitfall there was kind of went off there. Where did we go with that? I had that defined in my head. I should have wrote it down. So you started out with I don't even know where we went. We covered a wide swath there. That's why I'm trying to wrap it back around.
Yeah, yeah, we did. So we talked about assuming that we knew who our audience was. That's kind of where we started, making
Right,
assumptions that we knew where
right.
they were inside of their journey. And like you said, being able to connect the dots. Um, we talked about, oh, what was the other one that we talked about?
Well, assuming they're all in the same
Oh,
spot in the journey.
right, right. Um, and then we talked about not segmenting people. And again, that went back to where are they on the journey, understanding that portion, helping them connect the dots from where they are.
I think that's what happened
Um,
is that everything falls under those base things.
it
Assuming
does.
assuming everybody is your audience,
Right,
assuming that anyone you talk to connect the dots,
right.
and um, assuming that everyone in the audience that you defined are the same.
hmm hmm Yeah, exactly. That everybody has the same buying motivation, that everybody is in the same demographic
That's what it was,
for
buying motivation. That's actually what
buying.
the obstacle, the pitfall.
Right,
Assuming that everybody has the same buying motivation, or not identifying what buying motivation is involved.
exactly, exactly.
So there's the 3 points, the three
Yeah.
foundational steps. Oh wait, not steps. Three foundational ideas in
Right,
today's
right.
episode, because there are tons more. It's interesting though,
There are.
discussing it and seeing that, oh hey, actually this is really just a subset of these other things. Oh, I'm
hmm
gonna have to map that.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. I think that um, this is really a good conversation to have because, like you said, there's so many things that we could talk about. It could become very convoluted and complex. But at the end of the day, if you stick with the basics, um, marketing and messaging and content creation becomes so much more manageable. One might even say unwhelming.
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 But I think to summarize that, don't assume that everybody could be your customer, even though they
Right.
could be.
hmm
Try and connect the dots for the specific people, and that ties through into the third one of, even when you have identified an audience, realize that there are different segments of the journey in that
Right.
audience, or different buying motivators in that audience, and therefore we need to speak to these people a little bit differently. And that's the
hmm
misconception about niching down, meaning, oh, I'm only going to sell to these people. No, that's, you're only going to talk to those people this way.
hmm
Then you can define
That's
a
a,
different niche and talk to
mhm,
them in their way.
mhm. That's a great way to look at it.
That's helped me because I've struggled with that concept too. I think most entrepreneurs do struggle with the concept, because there's so many people I could sell to. Why am I only going to focus on this many of them?
Right.
And it's like, well, it's not that you're focusing on this many. It's that I'm going to talk to these ones right now. That way you're not talking to everybody. Well, let me just talk to these people. It's like, I talk to athletes. Well, do you talk to football players the same as basketball players? I mean, to a point, but then when
Right.
you dive in a little bit, they're going to have different motivating factors,
hmm
different
hmm
motivational buying factors.
Exactly. Exactly.
That was good. Let's
That
see.
was good.
Let's find the wonderful form that you created for us, so that we have uniform and focus.
Isn't
It's
that
like,
great to have uniformity and focus?
that helps become unwhelmed.
Um,
I'll tell you that.
it really does. It really does. Well, I think that this is a great breaking point and a great time to say thanks for tuning in to Stand Out and Be Seen. I hope that this episode gave you some tools and inspiration to be able to grow your influence and increase your impact.
And don't forget, subscribe, leave us a review, a comment, pop a question. We would love to
Pop a
answer questions.
question.
Share this
Yep.
episode with someone who might need a little extra push to
Hmm.
stand out and be seen.
And remember, your voice matters, your brand matters, and most importantly, you matter. Until next time,
You matter. We'll see you soon on the Stand Out, Be Seen show. Take care.
bye, everybody.